Thanks for joining so promptly. We're just going to give it one more minute and we'll start promptly at 1 minute past 10 today. Okay, that's 1 minute past 10 on my watch. So let's get moving. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Hope everyone is enjoying the snow and looking forward to that Christmas break. Thanks everyone for joining. This is the third webinar in this series, exploring how tax technology can help you. As always, a very couple of quick housekeeping points. The session today is going to be recorded. There'll be an opportunity for questions at the end. Please do ask them throughout. If you can use the Q&A option in Zoom rather than chat, that would be really helpful. And then any that we miss or don't get a chance to cover, we can get back to you on that. There will be a follow-up session from today's topic for those that want a deeper dive, but given the break, that will probably be after Christmas now, but that will come round at the end. And as always, today's session will be 30 minutes. So on to our main event. I'm Ian Bowden, partner at BDO and head of our tax performance engineering group. The purpose of this series of webinars is to really explore the art of the possible. And I wanted to run these sessions really to help raise awareness for the great options that are available out there to help with everyday tasks, hopefully helping keep you compliant and make your everyday lives easier. What we focus on is a different topic each month with a special guest, so you're not just hearing from me. Session 1, we covered in a brand new indirect tax solution, and in session 2, we covered a corporate tax vendor that was moving to the cloud. Both of those videos are available on our YouTube channel, so please do check those out and see some of the other topics that we've got covered. Today's session is a different topic again, and really interesting and exciting for me to hear from a vendor that many of you may not have come across before. The vendor in question is ARRK Systems, and they're coming at this from a slightly different perspective. And I think that's what's really exciting for me today. They've developed a platform rather than an individual solution, which covers multiple taxes. So it's going to be really exciting to see how they've approached this area. So I'm joined today by Rahila from ARRK Systems, who's going to introduce us to their platform, and with a big focus on operational transfer pricing. So thanks for joining us, Rahila. Before we jump into Rahila's session, as always with these sessions, we do like to provide a quick market view of today's topic. And today's topic being operational transfer pricing. I'm joined by the head of this area for us in the UK, and this is Mineski, who's a partner in our transfer pricing practice. So thank you very much for joining this morning, Mineski. Can I hand over to you and give us a bit of insight into the wonderful world of operational transfer pricing?
Great, thank you very much, Ian. I'm really excited to be here. Now, before we jump in, I think I wanted to give a little bit of context into what is operational transfer pricing, because different people have different views. So I thought it might be helpful if, I show this life cycle diagram on the left, so in any new intercompany transaction, we start off with planning. So we decide how, what method to use, what should the policy be. For example, it should be cost plus 5. Then comes the implementation part, which is actually getting these policies into the correct financial statement outcomes. And that part is broadly TP implementation or operational transfer pricing. We then move into compliance, where you get to transfer pricing documentation, TP returns, and then obviously there is controversy there. Out there and that is one of the key trends that we are seeing in the market, is that controversy in transfer pricing is increasing. And one reason for that is, there is a significant increase in the digital capabilities of tax authorities who are using that to actually open new TP inquiries. For example, you would have seen the trend on profit diversion compliance facility in the UK. Which supposedly is driven out of the analysis of the C by C data, the country by country reporting data. But there is also another trend that we see, which is that the tax authorities around the world are now more and more focused on the whole implementation process, the controls, the roles and responsibilities, and are not just interested in the transfer pricing outcome. So if you say your policy is cost plus 10% and your P&L does show, it is cost plus 10%, they still want to understand how you go about applying and implementing that policy on a day-to-day basis. Now, one important aspect of implementation is the underlying data. It is what input data that you pick up. The second part of that is the transformation of the data. What do you actually do once you get that input data? Is it in the correct format? What do you need to do before you actually use it in the formula that is used to calculate the correct transfer price? And then there is the whole output of it. What do you do with that output? Which department within your organization picks that up to raise the invoices, do the journaling, so that it is reflected in the financial statements of the legal entity. The second thing is, using the same data, consistency of the data into the transfer pricing returns, into the transfer pricing documentation. So the one key objective of the process of transforming the input data into the output is to ensure that the transfer pricing is implemented correctly, but also to ensure there is consistency of the data which is being reported in various output formats. Now, most people still use Excel for the middle part, which is the transformation of data part. But what we are seeing is that there is a trend where many of our clients are starting to explore the market to see if there are other options available to standardize and automate some part of these calculations. And one reason we are seeing an increasing trend in that is that there are more vendors which have effectively entered the market. And therefore, the cost of some of these tools and solutions is also falling. So which means it is becoming more affordable for not only the largest companies or the higher end of FTSE, but also for the mid-market clients. And this is where we are really excited to introduce the solution that ARRK team have pulled together. And I will hand over to Rahila to talk a little bit more about this.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Just before I start, I thought a little bit of a agenda for today is I will start with why. And I will be alluding a lot to what Meenakshi has already said, but I will start with why, and then we will going to go into a platform-wide as to how, as a platform, it tackles not just operational transfer pricing, but other aspects of tax and finance as well. And then I will touch very briefly at a high level, of course, as well, because of time constraints, on operational transfer pricing and how we automate it on the ARRK platform. And then hopefully wrap it up with some questions. So little bit about me. I'm not sure if you got a chance to read it, but yeah, I've been with ARRK for 2.5 years, and I've had 7 or 8 years experience in the accounting world. And my job mainly is to understand the inefficiencies or the bottlenecks that our clients have, and how can we onboard them onto our platform. And how can we kind of build that bridge in the middle where they are on the other side, where the processes are automated, that process is less prone to errors, there is minimal human intervention, and also how are we codifying the whole process. Now, just on to the next slide, please. One of the what you see there is a word cloud. Now, this word cloud, we actually got it from a transfer pricing event that was held in London this year. And the question was, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you think of your current operational transfer pricing? I'm sure a lot of this word that many of you in this room can relate to. The tortoise-like one is a personal favorite of mine, but this kind of alludes to a lot of the points that Meenakshi mentioned. That is, this is, you know, for the very first time maybe in history where tax is empowered. Tax has a lot of say in what technology is to be brought into organizations, and they are actually leading the decision-making process as well. Accounting systems aren't always compatible to be able to support tax processes. And also a common misconception that we have is automation is a black box, or automation means you are taking jobs from the team. That is not the case. And a very good example would be one of our clients who have used the platform, and they have brought down the data wranglings part of their process to 30 minutes from 4 hours. And he said he got his career back. With that 3.5 hours that he has saved, he has now time to question the transactions, question the treatments, understand the flow of the numbers better, and also provide far better and value-adding commentary to the actual final numbers to his stakeholders in the business. Another example as to why automate tax processes is, again, the added interest from tax authorities. And also, you can think of the OECD guidelines with Pillar 1 and Pillar 2. And we come in and challenge our clients and say, how ready are you? How ready is your data? How clean is it? And also, how visible is your process? Not to just yourself, but also externals like auditors and tax regulators as well. Over to the next slide, please. I tried to kind of summarize the platform into 2 main pillars. Now, the first pillar here is focusing more on the compliance side of things and how we do it on the ARRK platform. So everything that you're doing on the platform is versioned. That means if you're making any changes, that version of the workings are getting saved, which is not the case in Excel. And sadly, 74% of the tax experts that were in the room in that transfer pricing event I just mentioned said they do still use Excel, and it does get really difficult for them to codify the whole process. On ARRK's platform, it is all happening in a controlled and governed space. There is no risk around access. There is no risk around any kind of mistakes or a human error where you can go in and very easily change a cell where it would be hard for you to track it back. And it's kind of alluding to the next point about everything is audited. There's audit trail, timestamp. 6 months later, you can go in and see who made what change at what time and why, because you can also leave notes as you go. The second pillar is more about the functional side of, you know, the calculations and how it's a process-driven platform. So first up is data wrangling. I will go into a little bit of details as to what I mean by that, but just very briefly here, it means, you know, how are we bringing in all the data in exactly the form it is? How are we slicing and dicing and doing all the logic application on the platform? You can do various checks on the platform using machine learning as well, and then you get to your final numbers. The platform was built with a team infrastructure in mind, which means there is live dashboards. You have very good visibility of deadlines and also accountability within team members of the process. You know, you might have a team in one country which has certain set of process and controls in place, and a separate team in a different country. But how do you make sure they are owning the numbers and they're doing their parts, and the checks that they're doing are also consistent and maintaining a minimum standard throughout the organization? And of course, the platform is cloud-based. It's backed by Microsoft Azure, and we are also ISO 27001 certified. Moving on to the next slide, this is where I wanted to delve a little bit into the data wrangling part. So let's start with input. How do we do it? The platform is data agnostic. What I mean by that is we can take in your data in any form from any systems. It can be your ERP system, it can be your data warehouse, it can be your HR system or your payroll system. It doesn't matter. The whole point here is to mold the platform around your organization, not the other way around. And we can take it in any form, like I said, and it can be a trial balance, and it can be a supplier list of giving you locations of where they're located from your shared services. Once we have gathered all the data, we then enrich it. So not all reports from accounting systems or other systems that you might have in place will have all the data that you need. What we often find is organizations are growing at a rapid rate with multiple systems in place, and data don't speak to each other. This is where transforming data comes in, and we get data to speak to each other. We can apply logic on the data. We can overlay it with your transfer pricing methodology. It doesn't matter. It is not restricted to just transfer pricing. If you want to apply logic as to how to get to your 9 boxes for VAT or how to get to the transfer pricing adjustments journals, that is okay, because you have full say in how you want to transform your data, how you slice and dice it. Afterwards, you create your desired outputs. This is again going back to what Ian has mentioned. We've come in with a platform solution. It is not just for transfer pricing. It doesn't matter what the use case is. If there is a huge amount of transactions involved with a lot of time spent fiddling around in Excel, you can use the platform and create your desired outputs, whether it is your 9 boxes for VAT, whether again it's the charges you want to raise for your intercompany, or any other kind of adjustments that you also want to be able to post back directly to your ERP system. We can get Excel exportable reports that looks like bulk journal uploads back into ERP. So all you really have to do is, review it and use your kind of review process that you have in place today. Now, moving on to the next slide, please. We take a lot of pride in saying how our platform is 100%. And what do I actually mean by that? So here, I thought the best way to explain it is use Lego. We at ARRK, we are technology and data geeks to an extent, and we've got some big Lego fans in the company. And I thought, that is probably the best way to explain it. Now, think of your process at multiple Lego blocks coming in, and how you configure it on our platform is you have full say in what sequence you want those blocks to be coming in. We are in no way just restricted to the blocks that you're seeing on the slide at the bottom of the slide. This is just a very generic example. But what I'm trying to say is you're not going to be using a tool or trying to be fitting into a prescribed manner. We are not trying to fully reinvent the way you do things. We're trying to make the process and the onboarding as seamless as possible. So we want you to be able to use a platform that is consistent, that everyone has access to, and it's audit trailed in a governed space, and you have full say in how you want your process to look like. You have full say in what part of the process you want to monitor your profits. You have full say in what level of profit monitoring do you want? Do you want it at a jurisdictional level, or do you want it at a business unit level? In the next slide, I have together a very, very simple example of what I mean by this building blocks coming together. So here we have a upload file from a desktop. It can be a trial balance that you save down maybe from your accounting system, and you bring in a different file from a different system. You merge it all together and restructure the data to form a report that is stitching the data from these two raw reports. Then you have the report that you want. You also have a sign-off process that can happen on the side, where a senior member in the team can come in and review it and make sure it's all good to go for any kind of external use. And it could be a submission to a regulator, to your final management accounts, or just to transfer pricing adjustments that you need to send out to your local jurisdictions to be able to post any kind of adjustments that might come in. Moving on to the next slide, I thought it'd be good to kind of give you an idea of what I mean by it is a more of a platform-based solution, not just a specific use case, because to date, we have all these use cases on the platform. And one thing I quite like, we did a case study with one of our clients who were in the utilities industry, and they said, every month I ring you guys because I can think of a different report or a different kind of reconciliation that I'm doing manually that I know your platform can automate. And that is music to my ears, and it's also very rewarding for me to hear, because he's not staying in the office till 9 p.m, which is something I could very much relate to back when I was doing month end. This is probably a good time to quickly overview a little bit around the operational transfer pricing module, which is on the next slide. I do want to highlight that we are not transfer pricing advisors. We are not experts. We do not take part in the documentation of the policy setting. Where we do come in is challenge our client. We have challenged our clients where we say, okay, it's all good to have your policies, your intercompany agreements in place, but how confident are you that your numbers are reflecting those 100% of the time? How confident are you that each and every transactions are adhering to the policies that you have set up? With huge volumes of transactions, with multiple jurisdictions and added complexities in tax regulators, the answer often is not very confident, and this is where the platform comes in to help you answer that. So we automate pricing, cost allocations, forecasting. We can generate invoices, journal adjustments on the back of all the slicing and dicing of your data that you have done. You can also do different kind of model building on the platform with the help of embedded Power BI. You can do profit monitoring at any level. You can play with what if scenarios. Now that you're not spending majority chunk of your time fiddling around in Excel, you have time to get to the final numbers far quicker, analyze them better, and also play around with what if scenarios, which I think is the more interesting part of your job than just copy pasting and updating formulas. We don't have time to take you through the platform today, but we'd be more than happy to if you get in touch with us. But in the next slide, I took a screenshot from the platform. This is a proof of concept we did for a telecommunication client of ours, and they had what they referred to as a Excel spreadsheet from hell that took 10 minutes to open and was crashing every 15 minutes. Now, your scenario might not be that extreme, but what they were struggling with is how can we make the whole process more visible, and also transferable within team members, so that you don't need a day or two to decode the Excel model to understand exactly what is happening. We created a treatment map. Now, what you can see within maybe first couple of minutes of looking into this treatment map, I would very clearly be able to say that entity X has a different kind of treatment for foreign exchange compared to the rest of the entities. On the left-hand side, you've got your different P&L categories. Mind you, all these categories had hundreds and thousands of geocodes. And on the other side, you've got the list of the entities, and it is trying to tell you how each entity is treating this kind of cost centers. And this is, for this particular organization, was the right level of visibility for the transfer pricing team. So it is detailed enough, but also high level enough for them to catch any kind of anomalies. This is also where, if any new geocode is being added by finance, our people who are far more closer to operations, but it was allocated to the wrong cost center, it would be flagged here. And tax is not being reactive, but rather being proactive in this manner. You are also not waiting till your year end to understand your adjustments, but rather getting to it far quicker. In the next slide is the Power BI. So once all the data is on the platform, there is no need to take it off the platform to a different solution or BI platform to be able to build your dashboards, your sensitivity models, or just visuals for any kind of reporting you might be doing. So you can't just straight away start building your own models in exactly the way you want. There is no need to learn how to code. It is a very intuitive platform, and it is very process-driven platform as well. And in the last slide, I thought one thing I noticed when I speak to a lot of prospects and buyers in the market is the amount of focus that goes on the platform and the pricing. But I think a lot of emphasis needs to be given on the aftercare as well. And aftercare, not just in people form where, how quickly is the support team getting back to you, but it is also how much is the organization invested in the continuity to make sure that clients always have access to latest technology. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have upgrades all the time, but that does mean you have access to latest technology at all times, given how quickly technology is evolving. We have been around for 14 years with 900 clients across all our services, and we have over 100 clients using the tax platform for various use cases. And I'm also very proud to say we've got 100% customer satisfaction rate. There's some nice logos at the bottom. I can tell you at least 4 out of all those logos are using the tax platform. And with that being said, I'm going to wrap up my presentation, and feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you very much, Rahila. That's really interesting. Hopefully that was useful to get a bit of some insights into a vendor that's trying to do things a little bit different. There doesn't seem to be any questions that have come through on the Q&A, so if anybody does have any last-minute questions, then please do let me know. A couple of things that kind of jumped out at me on hearing that. It would just be interesting to hear a little bit in terms of why is ARRK kind of, everybody else has done particular point solutions. Why has ARRK gone down the route of a kind of a more platform based? Because I guess it wasn't your traditional heartland, the tax side of things, is it? But it seems to be the area that you're doing most work in at the moment, Rahila.
Sure. So this actually came on the back of a lot of conversations that we had our clients that were already using the platform, and they realized the capability of the platform. And also the platform was built very much automation at its core, which means being able to provide utmost flexibility. So the platform actually doesn't care if you're trying to get to 9 boxes for VAT, like I said, or you're trying to get to your transfer pricing adjustments. Anything that involves handling large volumes of data and a lot of working in Excel can be automated on the platform. And once we started building out use case after use case for our clients, we realized actually this has got a wider range, it could handle far more challenging solutions, far more challenging kind of case studies that are out there for a tax team. And when we started building our proof of concepts, we realized, yes, definitely, it's not just for operational transfer pricing or VAT. We have clients using it for their balance sheet reconciliations as well now, because it's really good at analyzing your data.
Thank you. Neski, I guess you and I have had this conversation a few times. Is this a mid-market proposition? Is this something that people can do now, or is this still very much a top-tier consideration?
No, I think definitely now operational transfer pricing is a proposition for all clients, and also to the for the mid-market. As I mentioned earlier, Ian, like the reason it used to be more commonly seen at the higher end of the market or top end of FTSE was that it used to be prohibitively expensive to use any of the platforms. There were not that many platforms out there or that many solutions out there in the market even 5-6 years ago. And now that there are more options. And what I also realize is, overall, I mean, the journey that all the tax departments are going through in all organizations, everything is moving towards standardization, automation, being able to mine the data. And what clients are realizing is that if they don't stitch it all together, and transfer pricing is quite an important element to get your financial statement outcomes right, and has also a link to things like SAO. So more and more clients, I think, are now open to using these solutions, and also there are more options available in the market, like the one that ARRK are coming up with now, and therefore more accessible and affordable, and it doesn't cost millions to put in an operational transfer pricing solution in place.
Fantastic. Well, look, that's our time. And thank you all very much for joining, and thank you very much for ARK and Manishke, for Rahila from ARK and Manishke from BDO for joining us this morning. I hope everyone enjoys their festive break. This series will continue in the new year. If there's any topics that you would like us to pick up and cover, please do let me know. Hope you enjoyed today's session, and speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.